And welcome back to season 2, episode 12. Today we've got a really fascinating topic that I'm excited to talk about: email marketing 101, crafting campaigns that convert. Now, did you know that email marketing has an ROI of up to 4,200%? That's $42 for every dollar spent. But how do you ensure your emails are the ones that get opened and drive action? That's what we're here for today, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, why does email marketing matter? Well, the first two things I wanted to really highlight here is email marketing is a cost-effective way to both nurture leads and drive conversions. And there's the important element of crafting compelling campaigns in today's crowded inboxes. If you're like me, you have about 42,000 emails in your personal email, you have about 20,000 in your work email, and somehow, some way you can't get out of unsubscribing fast enough or deleting emails fast enough because if you're anything like me, it feels like there's more emails that come in than I can delete. Now, as an overview of what we're going to talk through today, we're going to talk through a step-by-step guide on how to create effective email campaigns. And then I'm going to give you some tips for writing compelling subject lines, designing impactful content, and measuring success from what we've seen for our clients. Now, as we like to do every episode, the first thing we want to talk about is, why is email marketing still relevant, right? We think there's a lot of emails going out. Why should I be sending emails in such a crowded marketplace when everyone's trying to do email marketing, specifically because it's a very cost-effective option? You're not paying for ads, you're paying for an email subscription, maybe an email domain, and that's about it. That's all you have to pay. Now, my two advocations here on why I think it's relevant is, one, the power of email, because the stats on email engagement and ROI compared to most social media platforms and other channels is dramatically higher, right? We see on average a 40 to 60% open rate on a medium range of your emails being sent out. 40 to 60% of them are being opened by people. And traditionally speaking, we're seeing 15 to 25% click-through rate if there are conversion or just opportunities for someone to click. So if you think about it, you have a 40 to 60% chance of someone opening that, in addition to 15 to 25% of those people actually taking action, looking a little bit further than just seeing your email. On social media, unfortunately, I think we can all agree this is not the case. Your engagement metrics on social media are much lower than you can find on email. So in my opinion, email is still extremely powerful. Now, secondly, why I think it's more relevant or still relevant is you have the ability to have a direct connection with your audience. Email truly allows for personalized one-on-one communication with your audience, and this makes an extremely big difference. We can personalize emails, we can segment emails, we can create different content for different people. This makes a huge impact when we look at campaign performance, seeing what happens and what doesn't when we add things or reduce things. Now, for an example, I saw at a small e-commerce store once, they had us look at what they were doing from an email perspective. We were auditing what they were doing, seeing if we would be a good fit. And we saw that they actually used abandoned cart emails to recover 25% of lost sales. So we saw that out of 25% of their AKA lost sales or abandoned carts, they're actually able to recover 25% of those, which not very great at math, but in my mind, that's a huge percentage of people, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic, you can actually bring back through just through an abandoned cart email, which makes a big difference. Now, you might be thinking, all right, email marketing is still relevant, but how do I start, right? What's the first step? And the first step here is we need to build your email list. So first off, I always like to preface this. Data consent is an extremely valuable topic right now. It's very popular. There's a lot of people talking about it. And the first step with building an email list is you need to start with permission, right? So when we look at building our lists, when we look at opt-ins, things like that, we need to ensure that they're legal and that they comply with local and state regulations. But then in addition, we need to understand the importance of building an opt-in email list, because that encourages better engagement and compliance. I can't tell you how many times that I get thrown an email and it says that I was subscribed or I signed up through the website or things like that, and I didn't, right? So people are scraping email addresses now, sending mass emails, and it really kind of occasionally puts a bad taste in someone's mouth when they get a random email from someone that they don't know that they got thrown in an email list. So from that perspective, it's extremely important when we build our lists and we put our audience members in that list that we ensure that we're starting with permission. Now, a couple techniques that I like to use for growing your list. One, go through your contacts of people that you know that might find value in your content. Start adding those people or reaching out to them and saying, hey, is it okay if I add you to my email list? Second, I always like using lead magnets. So find a way to do some sort of free guide, a webinar, a discount for signing up, putting their email address in, make it very apparent that they're signing up for some sort of newsletter or email chain. But from that perspective, using lead magnets can be a really powerful tool. Now, third, we found a lot of success with our clients by embedding, sign up forms on their websites or blogs or social channels, finding ways that we can integrate some sort of simple sign up form that asks for first name, last name, email address, maybe phone number, maybe location, maybe a couple different pieces of data, making it very concise, making it very short, but also getting some data on who this audience is and why they're signing up. That's been proven to be a pretty good model for some of our clients, as occasionally, whether you're getting organic traffic, whether you're doing some sort of paid advertising, it can start to add up very quickly on your audience from what they're seeing versus the traffic that you're getting from your website, which makes a big difference. Now, the example here is we looked at a coffee shop one day, and we actually encouraged them. One of our recommendations is to just do a very simple giveaway. They were looking at building email subscribers. They had probably about 100. They wanted to get to 1,000. So the first step that we wanted to take was use a free coffee giveaway to increase your list, right? And so what we did was they pushed out a social media post, they did an email blast in store, and they said, we are giving away, 5 bags of coffee. Enter to win here, and put your email address in. You're signing up for a newsletter. Give us your name, your phone number, and your email. And what they did was they actually went from 100 to 250 within probably about a week, which was a big thing. So, small movement makes a big difference. Now, when we're looking at building out our email list, we've kind of talked through the techniques, right? So now we're at the stage where we actually need to look at creating the perfect email, right? And in theory, there is no such thing as a perfect email, but we're going to get as close as possible to perfect here. Now, in my opinion, from what we've seen from a visual perspective, from what we've seen from a content perspective, there are a couple key components that I'd like to highlight when we're looking at building email campaigns that I think a lot of people miss the mark on. First, the subject line. In my opinion, we need to make sure that we keep it very short, use it to be intriguing, and somewhat action oriented. So, for an example here of what I did, last chance exclamation point, 24-hour flash sale. That's a great way to keep it short, make it a little bit more intriguing, and give the user some sort of action. I've seen a lot of really great email headlines that have caught my attention just based on the fact that they were short, they were quick, and they provided some sort of action that caught my attention that made me read a little bit more. Now, when we're looking at the body content, we need to make sure that we use clear, concise, and personalized language. This makes a big difference because additionally, from what we've seen some really bad email campaigns that failed pretty dramatically based on the fact that we were sending out email newsletters, or our client was, to their audience, and they were providing no text or content behind it, right? As marketers, as business owners, we need to understand that we have a duty to keep the audiences in our email list, keep them engaged through thorough content that actually makes them want to continue reading. We kind of get spoiled based on the fact that we have so much data, but what we don't realize is as we start increasing our unsubscribes, if we're not putting out valuable content, that's going to lead to some terrible things. So, in my opinion, you need to use clear and concise and personalized language in your body, and you need to also use a strong call to action. Some sort, and we always recommend adding in a couple of call to actions if it's appropriate. Find different ways that you can encourage individuals to click into a link, click into some sort of thing that provides value to them and gives you a little bit of value from them reading it. Now, the third piece is something that I can't talk about as well because we have a designer on our team that does a phenomenal job of this. Shout out to Abby. The visuals and layout, in my opinion, is probably the largest, most important thing for an email campaign, because you can have the perfect subject line, you can have the best body content, but if it's not organized and laid out in the right way and visually it's not appealing, it's probably not going to hit in the way that you're expecting. And so when we're looking at the visuals and layout, my 2 recommendations are you need to make sure that you use clean, mobile-friendly designs and highlight key messages with bold text, images, find different ways that you can make your content stand out in a design way that's going to make it stand out just a little bit more than just if you were to write an email, right? Now, the other side of email marketing that, outside of the key components that we talked about is the segmentation and personalization piece. So, when it comes to segmentation and personalization, we need to make sure that we're dividing our audience into segments based on behavior or demographics, and we need to address them by name and tailor offers to their preferences. Now, when we talk about these things, we need to be very clear about the segments that we're building. We don't want to just put a broad segment of t-shirt buyers and send them a bunch of t-shirts, right? We need to look, are they buying women's t-shirts, men's t-shirts, kids t-shirts? Is there a certain color behind it? And the more detailed that and specific that we can get behind those segments makes a big difference. Now, the other piece here that I'd like to talk through is when we talk about addressing our audience by name in emails and tailoring offers to their preferences, we need to be very careful about that we're not just putting a dynamic tag in there that puts in their name that says, hey, so-and-so, because everyone can do that now, right? A couple years ago, that used to be a big thing. If you were doing that, you were really standing out and being personalized. But now almost everyone does that. So we need to make sure that we're adding in content that's relevant, not only just put by their name, but what offers are we providing that's effective, that's enough, and encourages them to take an offer. I've seen a lot of offers come through my mailbox that, 5% off a large ticket item, right? $1,000. Or I've seen service-based companies that are charging $9,000 for something, and they'll include like $100 item. Maybe that gets the point across, but in my opinion, you need to make sure that offer is strong enough that your audience is compelled to take that offer. Now, another thing that I've seen when we talk about personalization is ensure the variables that you're putting in your email newsletter are actually correct in your database. I've had a couple emails that have come through on a cold side that we've received that obviously you could tell that they were copy and pasted or pre-filled variables, because what happened was the variable showed up on an email that I got from someone that was trying to outreach via cold email. This makes a big difference because when it comes to looking at your audience, or your audience gets an email, they want to feel like you're personalizing content to them. And while you in your mind are personalizing content enough by adding variables, the other piece of this is you want to make sure the audience understands that you're doing everything in your power to make them feel careful. Now, when we're looking at automating email campaigns, there's two ways that you can look at automating email campaigns. One, you can either set it and forget it. So you can use automation for welcome series, abandoned cart reminders, or maybe re-engagement campaigns. But then there's the other piece that you can actually use drip campaigns, which are going to be a little bit more of a cold outreach. You can use these to nurture leads through a series of scheduled and strategic emails. Now, in some cases, you need to use both set it and forget it and drip campaigns together, or holistically, or try to intertwine them between the two. But sometimes it's more appropriate in certain situations for us to set it and forget it. If we're doing a monthly email newsletter, or if we're scheduling something out in advance, set it, forget it, get it going. Now, on the drip campaign side, this is something that needs to be, nurtured on your end as much as it does for the individuals receiving the leads or receiving the contact, your leads, right? We need to understand from a drip campaign's perspective, we can set up a drip campaign, we can think it's perfect, but we need to start looking at the data and understanding, are these drip emails working? Are they being impactful? And are they actually benefiting your audience and benefiting you? So I've seen the example of a SaaS company where they actually reduced customer churn by 20%, because what they did was they automated their onboarding email sequences, made it a little bit more systematized on the emails that they were getting, ensuring nothing fell through the cracks. And they claimed, and we saw it, that they had a 20% reduction in customer churn simply because of the fact that they had an automated onboarding sequence, which makes a big difference. Now, we've talked about how to set up a campaign for success, the tools, the tricks, the automations, but I think it's incredibly important when we look at email campaigns on how do we measure success, right? A couple key metrics that we can talk through. There's A/B testing that I want to talk through. But three of the key metrics that I like to generally talk through is open rates, click-through rates, and conversion rates, right? So when we look at open rates, this is an indicator, in my opinion, of how engaging your subject lines are, right? What's driving them to open the email, and are they impactful enough? Is your subject line impactful enough that it drives them to open the email? Now, the second piece of this is the click-through rates, right? This helps you understand how and measure how effective your content and CTAs are, right? So we've gotten them to open the email, but now based on how we've gotten them to open the email, Have we delivered on the content that we've promised, or have we made that same impact on the content we've created and the CTAs that we have? Is it engaging as our subject lines or not, right? And that's a good measure. So we're looking at open rates, we're looking at click-through rates. And the last piece of this is the actual conversion rates, right? Every email campaign has different objectives, different things that we're looking for. But when we're looking at conversion rates, it's important to actually track the actual actions taken. So whether we're asking people to purchase a product, whether we're asking them to sign up, submit information, whatever that looks like, it's important that we track all of these things. Now, as I mentioned previously with drip campaigns, it's important, especially when we're looking at monthly email newsletters, really any email that we're sending out, that we're using or utilizing A/B testing. So we need to make sure that we're testing subject lines and visuals and CTAs to optimize performance and make sure that the content that you're delivering to your audience actually resonates with your audience. Now, as I love to do, we need to talk through some of the common pitfalls here, right? Because I think a lot of people like to talk about how effective email marketing is. They like to throw out the big numbers like I did with the 4,200% return on investment. But there are some pitfalls that we need to make sure that we avoid, right? So first off, we need to make sure that we're careful of spam triggers. With the amount of automated systems out there, with a lot of emails going out, a lot of individuals or our customers have tools that filter out spam. They look for things. So when we are pushing out content, we need to make sure that we're avoiding using excessive caps, exclamation marks, and or misleading subject lines. Now, secondarily, we need to make sure that we're not overloading your audience, because this is a common pitfall that I see a lot of brands do. They get extremely enthusiastic about email marketing. They're going to send out thousands and thousands of emails. But what they don't realize is they're going to alienate themselves because they're sending way too many emails, and their audience is no longer, they're going to experience some fatigue, is what we like to call it, of they're getting too many emails. They've gotten sold too many times. They've gotten not enough valuable content. And so this is where you have to balance frequency, because as we know, too many emails can actually lead to unsubscribes, unfortunately. Now, the third common pitfall that we're seeing is marketers, owners, they really like to design on desktop and what it looks like, but they sometimes forget and neglect mobile optimization. So when we talk about mobile optimization, when we're sending out email campaigns, we need to ensure emails are responsive across all devices and optimized for mobile, as we know a majority of users are looking at their email on their phone. Now, if I haven't bored you enough or I haven't put you to sleep, let's talk through a couple key takeaways before we end this episode. First, we need to build a strong permission-based email list. Second, we need to craft engaging, personalized content with clear CTAs. And third, we need to leverage automation and continually optimize based on data. So after saying all this, are you ready to improve your email marketing game? Because we are. You start by reviewing your current campaigns and applying these strategies to see measurable results. And we're curious. If you have any success with email marketing, if you find any tips or tricks at work, comment below, send us a DM, let us know what works, what doesn't. We'd love to hear it. Now, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this episode of Clump Conversations. Don't forget to subscribe for more actionable marketing tips and insights. See you next time.